cybersecurity in a nutshell. In this video, we will be explaining cybersecurity in a nutshell. Meet Betty. She often shops with this website, www.shop.com. This website have on their server information about Betty. Information like her email address, her ID, and her bank credentials. For a hassle-free transactions, all Betty's information has been stored on this server belonging to the website www.shop.com, so that at any point in time that Betty wants to do business with this company, Betty's credentials are easily and quickly verifiable. One day, Betty received an email from www.shop.com stating that she is eligible for a special discount gift voucher, which she will require a code to access this voucher. In order for Betty to receive the coupon code, she has been informed in the email that she has to fill a form. She has to fill in her detailed information again in that form so that this website will verify that it is truly from Betty. So Betty fills the form and sends and forwards this form back to www.shop.com. This did not seem fishy to Betty at this time because she feels it was the normal process for the company, the website, to verify her credentials. Little did she know the danger she was about to face when she forwarded back the form whereby she filled in her credentials. She was knocked off her feet when a substantial amount of money was wiped off from her bank account. Well, how did this happen? The email she received was not from that website, www.shop.com. The email she received was fake. It was from an unknown entity. So, the email she received was fake. Therefore, www.shop.com received an unauthorized access from a third party, and this third party is known as a hacker. Therefore, this type of attack is known as cyber attack, and the person or the entity who carries out such attack is known as a hacker. Could Betty have avoided this type of attack? Yes, with the help of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity involves techniques used in securing digital components, computer systems, networks, and data from unauthorized digital access. There are multiple ways to implement cybersecurity depending on the type of networks you're connected to and the types of cyber attacks that you are prone to. Now, let's take a look at the types of cyber attacks that you can be prone to. One of the most most common types of attack is the malware attacks, like Trojan, spyware, and adware, just to mention. So how does this malware perform or accomplish its attack? A malware attack uses malicious software to damage or gain unauthorized access to computer systems, networks, data, and other digital components. So how can Betty's device be attacked by malware? If Betty downloads a file or an attachment from an unknown source from the internet, that file or attachment may have been embedded with a malware. And if it is, then once this file is downloaded onto Betty's file, Betty will now be experiencing malware attacks because the file will corrupt Betty's device. So take note, don't download any file or an attachment from the internet that you do not know the source of that file or attachment. Else, you will be attacked by a malware. The next one is phishing attacks. This is a type of cyber attack that uses emails, text messages, or phone calls to manipulate individuals into revealing sensitive information. In this case, the attacker masquerades as a trustworthy entity. So, in this case, if Betty receives an email or a text message or a phone call that seemingly is coming from a known person, once she responds to this, then phishing attacks begins. That is, this attacker will be able to steal sensitive information from Betty. And this sensitive information could be passwords, credit cards, or bank account details from Betty. So this is known as phishing attacks. The next one is man-in-the-middle attack. This is a cyber attack where an attacker secretly intercepts and relays in communications between two parties who believe they are communicating directly with each other. The attacker essentially inserts himself into the middle of the conversation or data transfer. Sorry, let me repeat that. The next one is man in the middle attack. This is an attack, a cyber attack, where an attacker secretly intercepts two parties who believe they are communicating directly with each other. The attacker essentially inserts himself into the middle of the conversation or data transfer. In this case, Betty's device assumes that it is communicating with the server, whereas the attacker has taken over Betty's device IP address. Therefore, the attacker has intercepted the interactions between Betty's device and the server. This type of attacks usually occurs with unsecured Wi-Fi networks and also through malware. Another attack is the password attacks, which is the easiest attack for for hackers to penetrate a device. So here the hacker attempts to crack the password by using common or typically used password pattern, or the hacker just tries and tries to guess what the password could be. Now that we have cited a few types of cyber attacks, let's now move on to what can be done or implemented to prevent future cyber attacks. Cyber security practices. Now, Betty begins to implement cyber security practices. So first, she installs a firewall. This firewall is a virtual wall between Betty's computer and the internet. This firewall safeguards your network by filtering the incoming and outgoing traffic. Firewalls can be in form of a software application or in form of a hardware reinforcement. A second cyber security practice that Betty implemented is called honeypots. Here, as you can see, honeypots are dummy computer systems which are used to attract hackers. These systems are made vulnerable in order to attract hackers, more so in order to deceive hackers, and this in turn defends the system. In addition to this, Betty decides to use unique alphanumeric passwords, which are very difficult to crack, and antivirus software. In addition to all this, she decided to avoid emails from unknown source. So, Betty implemented all these cyber security practices to protect her system from hackers. Betty's case is an individual scenario, but cyber attacks are not confined only to individual systems, but also to private and public organizations. Now, let's look into public and private organization. How cyber attacks affect these organizations. Cyber attacks carried out on such cases are more deadly and results in huge losses for these organizations, both small and medium and big organizations. Motives of cyber attackers in this case are many, starting from tampering with crucial data leading to monetary gains. Now, let's take a look at a few of the types of threats that companies are subjected to. Various sectors, various organizations, and large corporations faces APT, known as Advanced Persistent Threats. And this type of threat usually goes on for a long period of time in order to gain confidential information. I mean, in order to gain access to confidential information from the company data. Another type of threat that companies encounter is called denial of service. This threat floods the network with trash, thereby leaving legitimate service requests unattended. Similar to the denial of service is the distributed denial of service threat. In this case, multiple systems are used to launch the attack. Another type of cyber attack is called SQL injection attack, whereby an hacker manipulates a standard SQL query in a database-driven website. In this case, once the hacker can manipulate the SQL query, he will be able to do huge damage to the database. The hacker will be able to edit lines, edit a whole data sheet, even delete a whole table and tables, which can result into huge damages to the database of that company. So this is a huge challenge to companies to ensure that all their networks are secured. As you can see so far, this is not an easy task. So this is why companies need professionals in cybersecurity to keep their several networks secured. There are multiple job roles in the field of cybersecurity. Like I said earlier, there are multiple job roles in the field of cybersecurity. Ethical hacker. If that role interests you, then you should go ahead and train and be certified as an ethical hacker. And an ethical hacker is a very important role that cybersecurity profession needs badly, because it's the ethical hacker that can trace the route of an hacker to identify the vulnerable areas in the system, in the network of a particular company, so as to protect this network against an actual cyber attack. So the difference between an ethical hacker and a real hacker is that the ethical hacker has come to resolve the issue that the hacker has produced. Or in a nutshell, the ethical hacker has come to resolve the issue, not to damage the network. Hacker comes to damage the network. Ethical hacker comes to resolve the issue and protect the network from an actual cyber attack. Another role that may interest you is the security architect role, which is his job is to design a robust security-proof architecture network. So that is to say that this role is While you're designing the network, he will be conscious of vulnerable areas, so he will have to design a network that will block vulnerable areas in the first place so that hackers cannot even penetrate, which is also an interesting role. Another interesting role in the field of cybersecurity is the role of the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, which is also a very crucial role. He is in charge of securing. So his job, the CISO job, he is entrusted with securing the whole information of the organization. So in a nutshell, this CISO is entrusted with the overall security of the information in the network of the organization. So I hope that at the end of this video, you should now have an idea of what cybersecurity professional work entails. Let me know in the comment section if being a cybersecurity professional would interest you and which area of these roles would interest you. Please comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now. Thanks for watching this video. Please do comment below. Bye.